Hearthstone podcast brought to you weekly.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday, and welcome to episode number 56 of Around the Hearth. And now, a man who single-handedly has sacked all of our interns is Rebobson.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 56 of Around the Hearth. This is a Hearthstone podcast thrown together by a bunch of guys who put the no in Noble Garden. So, first up, we'd like to start things off as usual by giving a shout out to our patrons who help make the show possible. So, Louise, Beardy Man, Kira, Jennifer, Huckman, and Honeybee. We appreciate your continued support. Thanks for everything. You guys are the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much.
If you're watching us live on Twitch and you have Twitch Prime, or even just Amazon Prime, and you haven't yet hooked it up to Twitch, you should totally do that. Please do consider shooting us a Twitch Prime sub. So let's get those ATH emotes in the chat. And if you don't, follows on Twitch are always still very much appreciated. So with that...
Smash that button.
Smash that button.
Smash.
Indeed. So with that little preamble out the way, let's talk about our weeks in Hearthstone. So Adam, how was your week in Hearthstone, man?
All right, well, let's see. Aside from admitting the Around the Hearth May Standard Tournament, I was hell-bent on trying to finish the Monster Hunt.
How'd that go?
I was halfway done. So I finished with Houndmaster Shaw, and I figured out that if you get the +2 to Hounds thing and the Death Rattle's trigger when you play something thing, you're pretty much guaranteed to win. So that went fine, but I still can't for the life of me figure out how to beat Tess, the Stalker one. But I have some ideas. If you can help me out, please join our Discord and tag me in a post so I know so I get some tips as to what to draft. I think what my problem is I haven't been picking up Kingsbane, which I think is necessary for that.
Yeah, Kingsbane's pretty good.
To finish that boss, but it's more the final boss that really gets me. Like I just run out of gas, or I know how to beat him, but I just don't have I'm missing like a piece of the puzzle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the way I did it was I did manage to mill the weapon on the final boss.
Yeah. I milled the weapon too.
Yeah, I figured that's like part of the piece of the puzzle. Like you have to fill his hand up, I think, is the thing first, and then you can try to mill the weapon.
Oracle, pretty good.
Yeah, that'll help. But other than that, I watched a little bit of HCT Summer Playoffs, which was cool. And that was pretty much my week in Hearthstone. Welcome me back to the show this week, Squirrel. How was your week in Hearthstone?
My weeks in Hearthstone. Well, as you all know, I've been a little under the weather. But what I did manage to do was play a lot of the solo missions, aka Monster Hunt, while I was under the weather, because it was something I could just do and put down, and it was also something that like I didn't care how long my turns were, so that's always fantastic also.
Right.
And I managed to steamroll through Tess and the Cannoneer, but I got stuck with Shaw and Toki, and eventually got Shaw down, but my nemesis Toki took me a long time. I think 82 bosses before I got her down. And then I did defeat Hagatha three-shotter. So I felt that was pretty good. You definitely have a lot to learn for each of those encounters. So, but the final encounter was a lot of fun. I don't want to give any spoilers for people who haven't gotten there yet, but it's really cool the way they did it. Once again, Blizzard's come through with some really, really cool solo stuff that they've given everyone for free. So, but I'm glad I'm done with it. I got my card back. I'm glad I'm done. And then I moved back onto the ladder for a little bit, and I was playing some stuff on the standard ladder, playing some Odd Rogue. Got to rank 5, and I was just kind of done with the standard ladder. We'll talk about the meta in a little bit. So I've moved over to the wild ladder, and I'd like to hit 5 in that as well. Actually, I did today. So double dad legend for me. But I want to just keep progressing in there because I still am in love with Kingsbane Rogue. It's just such a fun deck for me. I love the mechanics of it. It definitely is more thinking than one would think. So I do enjoy the mental challenge of putting all the puzzle pieces together and squeaking out wins, especially against aggro. So I decided today to craft it all golden. Felt really good. So now that beautiful golden coin is mine once again.
Nice.
My last, it's been a long time. Jade Druid was my last one. Before Jade Druid was like the hipster, thing to play. I had it all golden.
Before Ultimate Infestation, essentially.
Oh yeah, way before first iteration. But it was great. I'm really enjoying the deck and just having a lot of fun. So that's been my time. What about you, Rebobson?
Sweet. I have honestly, I'm also a little bit just like, man, screw standard. The ladder meta right now is just kind of a bit dispiriting, should we say? So I haven't really been playing it that much. Today was like the first time I've really touched ladder this season. I did a little bit of climbing there, up to like rank 2 on Asia, rank 3 on the other ones. Need to get those legends, try and get my points for this season because I still need to do that. But it's, yeah, I had a little bit more success, and of course did cast the Around the Hearth tournament on the weekend. That was pretty fun. Saw some pretty interesting stuff throughout the tournament. One of my coaching students actually took part in the tournament, and it was her first tournament. She came top 8, so clearly my coaching's paying off.
All right, very nice.
There you go.
But yeah, that's been my week. Just not a great deal of playing, and I still need to do Monster Hunt. Though Toki has been like the one I've found easiest. I've done like Toki on my first shot on 2 accounts. Just turns out if you get the take 3 turns with the quest and the double spells, you just win.
Yeah.
That one's really good.
Or if you just
really good.
Or if you just get a counter spell at some point during the infinite matchup, you just win.
Yeah, if you can time that counter spell right, then
if you get a counter spell on turn 9, you win. That's pretty much how that matchup is.
Or if you get 3 free Ragnaroses like I did. Or no, it was I'm sorry, not 3 Ragnaroses, 3 free Yashirajas.
Yeah, that's also quite good. 3 free Yashirajas generally do quite a lot of work. So yeah, that's been my week. But there's been some other stuff outside of us happening in the game, would you believe it or not? So Squirrel, why don't you tell us a little bit about some game news?
Okay, so as they mentioned on last week's show, there was a small patch that was going to come out and did come out to speed up Shudderwock's Battlecry triggers. Battlecry, all the animations and things that happened, and capped it at a maximum of 20. That patch was applied, and now the speed of the triggers has doubled. In addition, Life Drinker's animation speed was also doubled, as it did take a long time to actually do that. So, yeah, the combination of that, along with the increased speed of the Shudderwock Battlecry, really changed that a lot.
It really changed the 3 people still playing Shudderwock Shaman's time.
Yeah, I mean, if this thing was played more, I would say, hey, thanks, Blizzard, but I mean, maybe it'll be relevant in the future. I mean, people
For the record, I got Shudderwocked for the first time today in Wild. I was playing my Kingsbane Rogue, and I just didn't quite see where he was going with this deck, and then I was like, uh-oh, and I got Shudderwocked. So, but it was nice. At least I didn't have to rage quit because I knew the animation speed would be done quickly. So.
Also, thanks for less buzzing, Blizzard. I definitely do not like the sound of insects like that.
Yeah, no one's really a big fan of that battle cry noise.
Also, so some card appearance rates in Arena were altered in order to balance class win percentages. That also was part of the patch that just came out. We're not exactly sure as to which classes this affected the most, but it was mentioned that Paladin's win rate in the Arena was unusually high. There were some other small bug fixes, mainly ones that affected Android users, but nothing super critical. Also, big shout out to Blizzard for one thing. Did you guys know when you got your patch, did you notice that all that happened was like a little blue bar at the bottom kind of went across, and you waited 30 seconds and there was it?
Oh, you mean it nice? Take forever?
isn't it nice that they've got that implemented and we can just get, Delta releases like this? So thank you,
Yes.
Blizzard, for not making me download 8 gigs of data between all my devices. So much appreciated on that.
Yeah, it would have to be a lot of stuff for it to be that large. So at least it's nice to know that they can keep it compact.
Exactly. And it doesn't force them to be like, man, well, if we're going to have to patch this whole client, we got to get all stuff in there. So let's not push this out so quick. They can do more incremental little fixes faster because they're not forcing you to download the whole. So that's really good positive news.
Positive news. Yay.
Yeah. Good stuff. And then Ixcar of the Hearthstone development team dropped some nuggets regarding the upcoming beta release of tournament mode. Now, in case you all haven't been listening to the show for a long time, all we've wanted was tournament mode, especially for people that are fireside gathering admins and stuff. For them, it would make it so much easier. But just in general, tournament mode, I mean, it would make the game so much better, and we could totally use this feature. So we are excited. The beta is set to launch in the middle of the year. Don't really know what that means, but typically they like to give like 3 months windows. So I could see like June, July, August, somewhere around there, it coming out. Everything will be handled in the client. So that's really important as well. You can play in tournament anywhere, not just at fireside gatherings. So tournaments can be set up. We'll have to see how it is, whether you can invite people or whether you can just find a tournament.
Fight me.
Yeah. So it will be really cool to see what they do with that. The initial functionality will include matchmaking and deck checking, which is very important and obviously essential to what tournament mode would do. Bans will not be included initially. That kind of sucks. But it is what it is, I guess.
I mean, a beta is a beta. Not everything's going to be there.
Right. And obviously, like you said, Adam, a beta will be just that, a beta. So you definitely can expect bugs and features to be missing. So it's just a start, but listen, I'll take it.
I will most definitely take it.
Yeah.
What I really want them to include at some point down the line is some kind of caster functionality, because I am constantly having to delete people from my friends list so I can spectate games to commentate.
Yeah, I mean they have that in Overwatch, which is really cool. Like you can have spectator slots for matches and stuff like that. So in theory, that could work.
That is what is on my wish list, because I am just like constantly having to add and delete people for various challenger cups and other things. It's just like, well,
yeah, my friends list is only so big.
Yeah, it's just like constantly at 200. It's like, well, this person's been offline for 3 days. I guess they don't play very much. They're gone. That's generally
3 days.
Yeah, no.
Wow,
I'm reaching the point where I'm having to delete people who have been offline for 2 days because they've been gone for the longest.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's incredible.
Rebobson Rebobson puts out his torch. Rebobson has spoken.
Yeah, so that wraps up game news for the week. That's all good, positive stuff. So we are very, very excited for that. So now let's move back into the tournament mode, other side of the pond for tournament news. Rebobson, what do you got?
I'd just like to start off by saying that segue sucks.
Yeah,
you're rusty, Squirrel.
I'm very rusty.
You've been gone for too long. Don't worry, once you've been back, you'll be fine. So yeah, tournaments. Now the biggest thing, well, there were two big things which happened this weekend. So we're obviously going to start with the most important tournament, which is the Around the Hearth May Standard tournament took place over the weekend. Screw everything else. This was the big deal.
Yeah, I mean there was some other thing, but like who cares about that, right?
Well, we'll get to the other thing. It's fine. So this was like our first kind of monthly free little tournament with just like fans of the show, random people, anyone who wanted to take part could take part, provided they had, 3 full decks and an account on the North American server. They could compete to win some card packs as well as some coaching time from me and ZT Dubs. And the almost the whole thing was streamed on our Twitch channel, and if you'd like to check it out, you can go see the VOD, which is currently still on our Twitch channel. We had about 45 players take part. It was like a Challenger Cup format, which is just best of 3, standard format, 1 ban, instead of best of 5 with 1 ban. And the players who made it all the way to the end, we had Solid RX, a player from China, who found the tournament through a way we're not entirely sure how.
Probably through Battlefy, if I were to guess.
Yeah, it seems most likely, and he did it with a pretty cool lineup. He had Miracle Rogue, Even Paladin, and Spiteful Druid. It was, I think, the only Miracle Rogue in the entire tournament, and it just kind of breezed its way through, which was pretty cool to see. And his losing opposition in the final was Red Knight, someone who I actually know from various other Hearthstone-related activities, and he played a Tempo Mage, Quest Rogue, and Control Priest. Then in the third place match, the winning player was some 70s guy, Spiteful Druid, Even Paladin, Q-Block, shocker. And then we had a kind of recurring appearance at these tournaments. We throw Sad Potato, a name I'll never get tired of saying, and that is Q-Block, Quest Rogue, and Baku Warrior. He brought Baku Warrior. It was fantastic.
He did, and he kicked ass with Baku Warrior also.
He did really well. I think the one game, at least the one match that I can remember from the event this weekend was, I don't remember who it was. It might have been, I want to say it was Red Knight.
Was it Red Knight's Control Priest when
Control
he
Priest versus that
Quest
Rogue? Yeah, he ripped the soul out of that Quest Rogue.
Yeah,
had no business winning.
Yeah, Red Knight managed to basically just aggro down a Quest Rogue with just wild Pyromancers and Twilight Drakes and Scaleworms and stuff. And then after Shadow Reaper Anduin was online, his opponent was on, I think, 5 health, and his turn went something like Acolyte of Pain, ping the Acolyte, draw Power Word Shield, play Power Word Shield, get Mind Blast, win game.
The third Mind Blast, by the way.
Yeah, the third one after he'd already played Shadow Visions to get another one. Like myself and Leo Dark. Shout out to Leo Dark for helping me cast the tournament, by the way. It was his first time casting. He did a great job. We were both just like, fully biased.
You were all
pog
champed out, yeah.
Yeah, no, we were just like, wait, is he gonna get it? He's got it! And we were like, oh, we're supposed to be impartial. Yes. But that was
hard. It's really hard not to get excited when something like that happens.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. You always find yourself rooting against Quest Rogue. It's impossible to root for the Quest Rogue, unless it's playing.
I root for the Quest Rogue.
Unless it's playing against either Tempo Mage or Baku Hunter. Like, you can't really root for Quest Rogue against Control Priest. That's just rooting for a bully. You've got to root for the underdog.
But I like Quest Rogue.
Oh, I really like Quest Rogue, but it's not really a fair matchup. We were kind of putting down the Control Priest's chances going into the game, so it was cool to see us all proven wrong.
Yeah, when you have those very polarized matchups and those 10 or 20% actually come to fruition, it's pretty cool to watch.
You're just like, yes, yeah. I won! I had a game the other day where I managed to beat Baku Hunter with Quest Rogue. I was just like, yes, I'm so good at this game.
So there might have been another sort of tournament that happened.
Oh, but who cares?
But it's not as important as the ATH May Standard.
Right. So let's move on.
Let's talk about it anyway.
Nah, let's just move on to Tavern Brawl. Screw it.
No, stop. No, stop. Don't.
Yeah. So what also happened on the weekend? We're just being silly. The NA Summon playoffs did take place in a ridiculously kind of stacked field. Of course, playoffs, like the other region playoffs, take the format of 7 rounds of Swiss with a top 8 double elimination kind of 2 group stage with 2 players from each group advancing to the summer championships at the end of the HT season, whenever it actually takes place. I'm not 100% sure when it is. And like the field was ridiculously stacked. Just like
it was like the who's who of NA Hearthstone. Well, NA and South America Hearthstone, yeah.
Yeah, no, they're reaching that point where they need to kind of rename NA to just A, because
Yeah.
there's so many good like Latin American Hearthstone players coming through.
Yeah, like Nalgeden was there, PNC. Who else was there?
Our boy
Race.
Race.
Yeah.
I am a huge Race fan. He is fantastic. But yeah, speaking of some of these Latin American players, let's talk about who actually got through. Like the top 8 itself was obscenely stacked. Like there was Nalgadan, Race, and I think PNC all made the top 8. So those big Latin American players. Dog made it, Muzzy made it, Fibonacci made it, Killin' All Day made it. And I feel really bad I can remember 7 out of 8, so I'm sorry whoever number 8 was.
And Cytonia made 9 and just barely squeaked out. So that was a tough break. He's one of my personal favorite players.
Yeah, there was another one. Like I think Amnesiac went like 1 and 3, and he'd skipped his school's prom to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say his tweet was priceless. 1 and 3 should have went to prom.
Yeah, bless him. The young savage got savaged. But yeah, so we just said all the players who are in like this ridiculously stacked double elimination group, and then the players who came through. Race was the first player to qualify, beating Killin' All Day with the classic. What is the classic tournament lineup now of Even Paladin, Spiteful Druid, Quest Rogue, and Q-Block. And this was quickly followed by the other South American player who we just mentioned, Nalgadan, with the same lineup. We're beginning to notice a theme here, and he beat Dog to qualify. Killin' All Day. Yeah, Killin' All Day kind of recovered from losing the winners bracket match in his group, and finally made the championships after I think this is his 3rd attempt, just narrowly missing out.
Yeah.
And he was also playing Spiteful Druid, Q-Block, Even Paladin, Quest Rogue. And
I'm noticing a pattern here.
Yeah, I am very much noticing a pattern compared to Hearthstone at the moment. And
I had no idea those decks were even good.
Really?
Well, maybe we'll talk about them later in the meta section.
It's no Kingsbane Rogue, that's for sure. But the player who Killin' All Day beat was Fibonacci. And props to Fibonacci for bringing the tournament's weirdest lineup.
Yeah, thank goodness there was some he brought some variety.
Yeah, I think he played Recruit Hunter.
No, he played Recruit Warrior, Spell Hunter.
No, Recruit Warrior. Sorry, words. It was Recruit Warrior, Spell Hunter, and I genuinely can't even remember.
Well, I mean that's enough. That's enough spice. We can't get much spicier than that.
Yeah, and my favorite thing was he did actually tweet before the tournament saying he'd never actually played a game with any of his decks.
Oh.
And that's just how good Fibonacci is. The guy is a god, especially when it comes to playing Warrior. Watching him on stream playing Warrior is just wow.
Yeah, if anyone's gonna make a Recruit Warrior work,
it would be Fibonacci.
Just any late game Warrior deck, Fib's your go-to.
To be honest, I think it's just Warrior. I could see him just killing it with Pirate Warrior as well. He's plays very aggressively. We think of him as this kind of control warrior guy, but he's so good at it. He's so good with it because he's so aggressive with it. That's what I kind of saw him the way he played it. He was super aggressive with weapons, even against paladin decks. Just wow, I've never seen a warrior go face with weapons so much when they're supposed to be a control deck. But speaking of control warriors, the 4th player to qualify was a kind of favorite of almost everyone who kind
the
of
people's champ.
Yeah, Dog finally made it to a regional championships, which is so awesome to see. And he did it with a pretty, not a super unconventional lineup, but a moderately unconventional lineup. He did bring the odd control warrior, which is just really cool to see. And he coupled this with Control Warlock, not Q-Block. Again, a little bit different. Control Priest, and then Spiteful Druid. Because Spiteful Druid is just that good. But even if you're bringing a control lineup, you might as well just play Spiteful Druid.
Yeah, it's the most vanilla deck for tournaments, honestly. Not too many terrible matchups, and you can definitely win in situations where it might not
win against anything.
Yeah, it's it's a very vanilla deck.
I mean, it's mostly just neutral minions.
Yeah, it's 40 monsters.
It is a Joey Wheeler deck in the truest form of the phrase. But yeah, that's kind of competitive Hearthstone has actually kind of already reached.
We have reached
where-
endgame, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we've reached the point where it's like, well, these are the best. This is the best lineup. These are the best decks. If you're like Fibonacci and you can actually put together a lineup which does well against the kind of tier 1 lineup, which is, as we've seen, even Paladin, Spiteful Druid, Q-Block, Quest Rogue, then you do actually have a pretty good chance, even if you've never played decks before. Like, Dog did win, but pretty much all of his matches were just grind after grind after grind.
I mean, he did bring a really grindy lineup.
You know, he brought a grind, but his matches did kind of
It took forever.
You know, they took forever, and they was just like, you could kind of tell like how difficult his lineup was making it for him. Like, you could tell that he was playing decks which were kind of like at a lower power level than what other people were playing, than like the people who brought the kind of tier 1 lineup. Like, Control Warlock is not a tier 1 deck. Odd Control Warrior is not a tier 1 deck. And the people who were playing it, like, they could just kind of steamroll him. Like, Dog lost a couple of games where he just got swept by people who just drew well with their slightly stronger decks. And every match that Dog won was through his really exceptional play. Like, he was able to compensate for his decks not being quite as strong by just being a fantastic technical player. Like, I didn't see him misplay once the entire tournament. And it's really cool to see someone just do well based purely off that. And to be fair, he did bring kind of decks which reward playing well rather than just drawing well. But
Well, I definitely, that's one of the things I love the most, and why I really enjoy his stream. I'm going to make sure to close the chat. It's a little out of, he is making his shirt, everyone. But what I will say is that he talks through each play, and he's very technical in his, so that he can really teach you if you want and learn certain decks. And I love how he analyzes plays out loud. He's a really, really good stream to watch as well.
Yeah, and he's entertaining as heck.
Yeah, and he's beautiful. We can't forget that. Dog is a beautiful, beautiful man. And we can all appreciate a beautiful man every now and then. So yeah, I was very happy to see Dog qualify, even though his match was against Muzzy, who, it's always sad to see Muzzy not make it. But Muzzy is a player who we'll know will bounce back and just win everything from now on, and probably still make World Championships anyway. So I look forward to see. I want to see Dog at World Championships. I'm gonna pick him.
Yeah, I want to see Dog at Worlds too.
Yeah, like he's gonna be my choose your champion. Like 100%.
For the people. For the people.
I loved how just mental chat went when Dog won. It was just.
I just want like a whole crowd of people. I want like a whole crowd of people doing that. Honestly, that would be amazing.
Yeah, just chat was just going. Just it was just like line after line of dogs.
And like Frank Garcia's, yeah.
So yeah, tournament meta is already getting a little bit stale. So we can kind of talk about that when we get to the meta later. But first of all, we've got some stuff to say about Tavern Brawl, don't we, Adam?
Okay. So last week was the Noble Garden event. For those of you who were either missed it or weren't there, basically the equivalent of a spring holiday for the Warcraft universe, basically Easter, involving bunnies and eggs and chocolate. So in light of this, Blizzard released for the first time ever, everybody get in here. So it's a Tavern Brawl, and basically how it works is you pick a class and you get 10 random class cards and 20 cards that were for the brawl, or basically neutral for the brawl. And every turn, at the start of the turn, an egg is spawned on the player's side of the board in stealth. The eggs can be dyed with cards from the player's hands that will receive an ability when it's hatched. And it's like they get like Rush, Lifesteal, Divine Shield. And they basically hatch the next any eggs that are still in stealth after the turn they come into play. Basically hatch the following turn. The die cards that are in your hand, they shift every turn, kind of like a Shifter's Heiress or Molten Blade effect or Chameleos kind of thing. There was a bunch of uncollectibles too that were in this brawl. Some interacted with your eggs in some ways. I think it was called
Carrot?
Hawkstrider. Yeah, the carrot. There was the Hawkstrider the Hawkstrider hen, the one that battle cries
Some
that
kind
battles
of
to leave an egg.
some kind of bird thing.
There was also a vanilla 5-2, which was a goblin wearing some bunny ears. As you
Why,
can see,
Blizzard?
Why would you make Ice Ranger number 2? Anyway, so I made a bunch of notes about this, and then we were talking before the show, and I was talking to EvilSquirrel about this, and we have some contrasting opinions on the brawl. So we're gonna do a little good cop, bad cop, or good squirrel, bad Adam segment here. I'll basically give a problem that I saw with this brawl, and then Squirrel will counterpoint it with something he liked about it. So to start off, the class is getting 10 random cards is kind of bad because you can get some random cards that do nothing. For example, like you get a Forge of Souls or a Glacial Mysteries and have nothing to draw with them, and that feels a heck of bad. However, if you were a warrior, I would definitely feel like getting Explore and Goro would actually help you in this brawl. So
I think
warrior
so.
was actually fun.
Sure. So the random point, right? So yes, we talk about how much random is too much random, but I don't think this is too much because, like you said, you could get some really cool class stuff. You could also get some duds, and your opponent has the same chance of getting duds as you do. So I don't think that that's a problem.
All right. So AoE was like way too good in this, and like certain classes don't have that. The AoE was good because you could blow up their eggs they invested in, and they had basically we leave them with nothing. So they would dump a bunch of mana into an egg, and not have anything left over after that. So you could basically make an investment with no benefit.
No, absolutely. I do agree there. AoE was beneficial, but when you are first learning the brawl, you don't really know what you're getting into. So if you're playing it early, everyone's kind of on the same page. But if you learn that, then you just got to get good and get on the other side.
So the other thing, because the eggs hatch on your turn, it means the minions that hatches need a turn before they can do anything, unless they got rush. So basically, it's when you get an egg, you're not doing anything with that minion for 2 turns, which is kind of bad. If it happened at the end of if they hatch at the end of your opponent's turn, that would be like a lot more beneficial. So I thought that was like, it's kind of like I have an egg and I have a creature I can't use for 3 turns, basically.
Yeah, but I thought it was kind of interesting on how you what you were going to do, knowing that, like, for example, okay, you have 2 minions, they have 1 minion and an egg. What's going to happen in the next turn? How are you going to counter it? Because it was about keeping board and not getting bunnies. So I don't know. I thought that was okay.
My final point is, like, certain classes are like super duper good. Like like Hunter, I found for this brawl was very, very good. Like it has a lot of beast synergies, and all the things that hatch from the eggs are beasts. So you at least have you have cards that can supplement that. And I'm pretty convinced, and this happened to me in one game I played. If you draw Dynamancy and play it early enough in the game, you pretty much just win because you just make monster bunnies or anything that comes out of those eggs, and you just GG your opponent. I don't think they can come back from like that kind of like short up board for 2 mana, being able to basically buff a bunny.
One of my games I had, this works pretty well with bunnies. So it didn't make me feel bad to use extra.
You actually cut out saying what you actually got there. Could you repeat it?
Yeah, can you repeat that? Sorry
about that. So I got Dynamancy in my game, and I was like, okay, well, that's going to work pretty well here with these bunnies. And the cool thing about that, when you think about it, is that a lot of times what you're doing is you're saving your dies so that you don't get bunnies, because you want to kind of spread out, your creatures. But this way you can kind of dump, as soon as you got that, you could dump your dies and get some really amazing stuff early. So yes, if you play one of 9 classes and get one of your 10 cards is specifically this one class card, then you do have an advantage. But hey, every Tavern Brawl, there's going to be some class that's a little bit better than the rest, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think there's one thing when me and Squirrel can both agree on, and that bunny card is heckin' cute.
Big shout out to Sir Turtle Gaming. Sir Turtle would love this card. I know you do. So,
Any kind
but
of
yes,
cute
no,
stuff.
I definitely love this card. I think the bunny was pretty cool.
All right. So I have many questions regarding this brawl. Who thought this brawl would be fun? Why don't eggs have death rattle effects? Why do we need a Noble Garden event at all? Do I really want this free pack? Why is the bunny uncollectible? It's way cuter than Dire Mole. Replace Dire Mole with Bunny Blizzard, please. And then we had a comment from somebody on our Discord. That's why Blizzard gave us golden cards to say sorry for this Tavern Brawl. So my rating for this Tavern Brawl was actually a 1 out of 5. We didn't really need the Noble Garden event at all, and I could go on in my life without one less classic pack because this event can be like a little bit frustrating. Rebobson, how did you find the brawl?
Well, say you're good cop, bad cop. I'm gonna go like evil cop. Parents, if you have a small child in your presence, cover your ears right now. 3, 2, 1. This brawl was fucking abysmal. It's the worst Tavern Brawl I've ever played.
Worse than Idols of Azeroth.
No, this was the worst thing I've ever played in Hearthstone. I would rather queue Quest Rogue into Tempo Mage every single game than play one more game of this brawl. It was the worst designed, worst executed, worst piece of garbage that's ever been put into Hearthstone. It was just so bad. The random aspect of it was completely trash. There was no element of strategy in this brawl whatsoever. So, like, dies were random and the creatures that came from the eggs were random. So if you blow your dice on something which turned out to be like a frog, then you just wasted all your resources. Then there's obviously the fact that any minion that hatches from an egg has sleeping sickness, and just you cannot account for anything. You can't account for your own minions when they come out of the egg because they're random. You can't account for your opponent's minions by like holding onto resources, using your own resources wisely because everything is random. There's no element of strategy whatsoever. It's just pure dumb luck, and the fact that it's so kind of done with such ineffectual low power level cards means that every single game was just a pure grind, and it was just the first person to get something actually good to come out of an egg, which they just put all their dice on. That was the person who won. I won one game where I just managed to get a Wind Fury Huffer on turn 2, and I was very happy to just stop playing the brawl at that exact point. I would give this a -2 out of 5.
-2, okay. And now, Squirrel.
That is the lowest rated brawl by any
we've had
member of the Around the Hearth cast ever.
All right, so how would you rate this score? How would you rate the brawl, Squirrel? I know you liked it a lot.
I did. I enjoyed the brawl. This is definitely not like one of those super brawls that I'm like, please give me back. Please give me back. But I think a once a year themed brawl with 4 free golden cards and a free pack, I think was fun to play a couple of times. So I think that Blizzard should be listening and definitely take into consideration a few of those suggestions given, because I do agree, for example, with the summoning sickness. But yeah, all in all, I think maybe a few tweaks and this could be a lot better. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 as playable enough to get your pack and your free stuff and enjoy a little bit.
Yeah, I think this was one of like my core problems with the brawl. The fact that quite a lot of work actually went into it. Obviously, like there were a lot of kind of custom assets created just for this brawl. When if they'd used that time to maybe make the gameplay playable, there might have been a kind of fun experience. Because we said on the show last week, maybe there'll be a cool Tavern Brawl with this kind of unique event.
We did say that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did get a unique Tavern Brawl. Just the problem is it was hot trash.
It was unique.
But it was unique. We will definitely give it that. And it did have a cute bunny. So it does get...
Yeah, cute bunny at least gets a point from me.
I would have probably given it -5 if it wasn't for the cute bunny.
If it weren't for the cute bunny. Also, why did they need to put a Magma Rager as one of the vanilla...
Ice Rager. This is an Ice Rager.
Sorry. An Ice Rager, yeah. You could get an Ice Rager as one of the uncollectibles in your deck. I don't understand that.
This card is very, very creepy.
It's very creepy to look at too. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he looks like he's not so much holding the egg as stroking it.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
All right, I'm getting the willies about thinking about this. So let's move on to a much nicer subject and talk about the meta with Squirrel.
Is this really a nicer subject?
Listen, I'm trying to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, so Squirrel, you haven't been on the show for a while, so really since the meta's settled, you haven't really been on the show. So let's start things off by what are your kind of thoughts about where the meta's at the moment?
So one of the key points we talked about before this expansion dropped and we had the big rotation was that last time with Mean Streets, Blizzard hit you too hard with an expansion that lasted for an entire 2 years. It defined everything. And so we discussed how they should temper, I should say, the power level of the expansion so that it's not so overwhelming. So basically, that's what happened. They said, look, we have all these classes that are doing really, really good right now. Let's just make them a little bit better. And so we still, as everyone knows, have Paladin in quite a few variants. We have our good old Q-Block and Control Lock. I hate you Q-Block players. We have the Spiteful Druid and the other Druid type decks, including Taunt Druid, which is gaining a lot of popularity due to Hadronox being very, very cool. And of course, you have your Mage taking forth with the Tempo Mage variant that's out right now, which is very, very strong. So, but not nearly as fun as classic Tempo Mage, I must say. Because Flamemakers were the bomb.
Yeah, I miss Flamemaker.
So that's what you have in the meta, and that's what we had. Like, there wasn't so much of a change. I mean, Shaman and Warrior are still at the bottom. You're still getting a lot of
terrible.
Yeah, it's just
Priest
it's just more of the same. And so I'm very tired. You had said earlier at the show, that everything has settled, and I agree. It settled quickly because it kind of settled with what it already was. And now I'm really hoping that this round of nerfs unsettles everything.
Yeah. The thing is, this creates a huge problem because in 1 month into expansion, you have a meta that's at endgame. And unless any changes happen, and this is going to you're going to lose a lot of concurrent player bases, and people are going to care a lot less about Hearthstone.
Sure, which is absolutely why they're putting these nerfs out now, but this isn't the first time this has happened. I remember complaining about Shaman back during the Shaman days, and they released a new. I remember when they released Karazhan, and Shaman was on top, and we're like, "You just gave them Maelstrom Portal and Spirit Claws. What is going on?" They just made the number one class that was dominating even better. And so that got nerfed quickly, and it did make somewhat of a change, but really that's what we're at. This is not something new where something settled this quick. They're hoping to definitely shake it up mid-round, which they basically have been doing once every expansion now, is one sort of balance change or something to kind of change the middle of the meta up.
But this isn't the middle. These nerfs are going to come
we're
just
still
over
nearly
right. Well, the middle will be when they release the nerfs.
Yeah,
the
they're
nerfs
saying
are going to
it
be within the next couple of weeks, I think.
I have a feeling they'll happen before the next season. They'll be at least announced before the next season.
Yeah, exactly. They said that they like to. Actually, I possibly maybe disagree, Adam, when now that I think about it, because they definitely have mentioned that they don't like to announce nerfs too far ahead of time, because then during that time people feel really bad getting beaten by a specific card.
Right.
Yeah.
So they definitely said after the championships. I wouldn't be surprised if the championships end on a Sunday, if Tuesday, even Monday or Tuesday, an announcement is made for nerfs that are going to happen within the week.
Patches always go live on a Tuesday.
Yeah, so if they made the announcement Monday, even if it was a day out, that still would be, I think, suitable. Honestly, I think that would be fine.
I think that's going to happen next week, personally. Playoffs finish, obviously the Asia Pacific playoffs finish this Sunday. Then the following weekend is the only weekend. Well, there is the following weekend when no major tournament is happening, so that would be the best week for them to get it out, I think, because the following week, DreamHack starts.
Yeah.
And they want to give players kind of time to prep for that. Like at least a
Sure.
week.
No, absolutely. If that's the timing, I guess timing through my weeks of sickness. But yes, the week between when the playoffs end and when DreamHack begins, that week is, I think, when it's going to happen. I think it's pretty clear. We had the announcement of the announcement, so now all I have to do is just kind of say, all right, it's going live, and it goes live.
Now we just got to wait it out and see what exactly they do change.
Yeah. So that is why I switched. I hit my dad legend. I locked that in. I switched over to wild, and I've been playing some Kingsbane Rogue, as I've said. So the wild meta is also being addressed with the Naga Sea Witch. I definitely got my butt handed to me by a Naga Mage. So any class can play Nagas.
So you're hoping for Naga nerfs?
Yeah.
They have confirmed that they're nerfing Naga. It's the only card which has
they just
been
don't know
confirmed.
how it's being done.
I mean, maybe they could just revert it back to its original state that they've changed.
Yeah, if it did the
from
thing it's
in the
supposed to
most
do.
Stupidest move.
Yeah, if it did the thing it's supposed to do, I don't see any problem with it.
Yeah, no, like,
Like everything's cost 5. That's it. No changes, no reductions, nothing.
Like just back to its original form before it was an incredibly toxic card. How about that?
Yeah. So something will happen. I hope that for the wild, as we are all very close to a lot of members that are big people for the wild community and really advocate hard for it. So I'm hoping for that reason. I honestly don't encounter a whole lot of it on that, but I'm playing at different levels. That being said, I hope it happens. But I play a lot of different stuff. That's what I love about Wild. Even, I went from 9 to 5, rank 9 to 5, and you
9 to 5.
you definitely just see lots of different stuff. I mean, I've seen all different variants of Hunter. I've seen different rogues. I've just seen different everything. And I played against a last or a dead man's hand warrior today. So that was a really fun matchup. So I'm enjoying Wild.
Yeah,
and,
Wild has a lot kind of higher variety when it comes to weird stuff.
Because everything's available. Well, they have a larger pool to pull from, so that's...
Yeah, but it's just when you start going to the 4-5 to legend bit where it's just abysmal.
Then there's less variety, is what you're saying?
There is no variety there.
Oh, okay.
It's just the same degenerate stuff. Like it's either a paladin, it's a Q block. You do see Q block more than you see Naga block, but Q block's still absolutely insane. Or I mean, those are the main two things you see really. Or you just see someone playing like a combo druid of some kind.
I've milled quite a few Avianas.
That must feel good.
That always feels pretty exceptional.
Bye bye birdie.
You just
have to win condition.
You emote and then they concede, and that's the end of it. But anyway, so that's the meta. So I think that I'm looking forward to what happens when they change things, because this graphic hasn't changed in a few weeks, and it's not going to change until something changes. So
what I find really interesting, and this is like the best indication of just how stagnant the meta is. Right, so this is the all ranks graph. So obviously Paladin's top, Warlock, Druid, Mage, Rogue, Priest, then the bottom 3. Yeah. Then if we normally see quite a big disparity between what people are playing at all ranks and what people are playing at the higher ranks. But we look at the higher ranks: Paladin, Warlock, Druid, Mage, Rogue, Priest, and then Warriors, Overtaken, Hunter. All the same archetypes represented about the same.
Oh, it's as horrible as that Goblin card.
And I think the main issue was the fact that the expansion didn't present anything new archetype-wise. It just kind of, like, there was the experimentation phase that we have with every expansion, but then people just kind of realized that the same stuff that they'd been playing before the expansion with a couple of new cards was still the best stuff. We had Murloc Paladin before the expansion. Now we have Even Paladin. Even Paladin is a technically new archetype, but it's still an aggressive Paladin which plays Call to Arms. So it's not exactly anything new. Cube Warlock just basically got Lord Godfrey. That's it. Spiteful Druid just got Druid of the Scythe, and
doesn't even really need to use it necessarily.
I think Druid of the Scythe is like one of the best cards in the deck. It's like their only proactive tool, and like it's made the deck so much more powerful.
No, I'm saying you have the option not to use it if you don't want to, is what I'm saying.
Or you can play it as a 2/4 taunt before a Warlock plays Hellfire. That's also pretty good. Like, Taunt Druid is a new archetype, but Taunt Druid's kind of bad. Is the main issue with it.
It does have some issues.
Its main issue is the fact that it's not very good.
Its main issue is Cornered Sentry.
Yeah, Polymorph, Hex,
Cornered Sentry.
Skulking Geist. A lot of cards which do really bad things for Taunt Druid.
It's really funny, actually.
Yep. Then you have kind of like the control decks, like Control Warlock and Big Spell Mage, which are just at a lower power level than the most important thing in the main decks.
Yeah.
They did get some cool new tools, those decks.
But they're not that good. But those decks aren't that good.
But they just struggled so much, even in what are supposedly their favored matchups. Like, even Paladin can just beat down Control Warlock or beat down Big Spell Mage, despite being unfavored, because it's just so strong. And like, the main issue with the meta, I think, is it is balanced. There is this kind of balance between Druid, Paladin, Warlock, with the kind of fringe counter decks of Tempo Mage and Quest Rogue, and to a lesser extent Control Priest. All those decks have this equilibrium right now. But all those decks, because of the way Blizzard has kind of designed cards, particularly with Kobolds and Catacombs, is that they have... No, Witchwood just doesn't even enter into the equation. It's done nothing. That's the issue. Because Kobolds and Catacombs were so powerful, there were so many powerful cards that now that they have this equilibrium, which is all these kind of 5 classes on a very similar power level, that if you don't play those 5 or 6 decks and you try playing something different, you are immediately at a disadvantage, which is why Warrior doesn't exist, Hunter doesn't exist, Shaman doesn't exist, and Spiteful Priest has ceased to exist because it just gets powered out.
Yeah, it's like you may as well play Spiteful Druid.
Yeah, no, you might as well play Spiteful Druid, you might as well even Paladin, you might as well play Q-Block, because
that's the thing. It's
better.
Like every time I go on ladder, I see a cool deck on like top decks. It's like, well, I could play that on ladder, or I could play something I know that'll work.
Yeah, no, I had one game which really kind of summed it up, where I was playing... What was I playing? I think I was playing just even Paladin. I played against a Spiteful Priest who drew the absolute nuts, and I decimated him. Because the deck was just not that good. And a lot of decks in Hearthstone right now are just not very good. They just really struggle against the kind of core meta decks. So,
I definitely think we've talked about the meta enough for sure.
Never.
Closing thoughts. Never. Okay. Closing thoughts.
They need to nerf everything.
Just nerf it all. Nerf it all. Burn it down.
Yeah, no, they need to nerf Spiteful Druid, Q-Block, Even Paladin, Quest Rogue. Like, all those things need to be nerfed.
All right, from the chat, Leo 2006 says, the only thing I hate about the meta is every top deck hard counters each other. It literally takes forever to rank. That's a good point too.
Well, no, that's because it is balanced, and this is what happens in a balanced meta.
We've achieved balance, but we didn't want that.
No, we wanted balance, but
balance, not like that.
Balance at a power level where the other classes can even come into consideration.
Yeah, and I also would like some fresh new things. Please, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, not playing the same archetypes as previous expansion would also be wonderful.
All right. So anyway, transgressing from the meta, let's talk about our card of the week this week. And Squirrel, this is your favorite segment.
This is my favorite segment, but I was unfortunately not part of it this week. The card of the week was Azalina Soul Thief, suggested by our Edelweiss, and she suggested this card. It is a very fun card to watch. I did watch quite a few games, and I've seen my friends play it, and I've watched a lot, but I unfortunately did not play with it. It is a 7 mana neutral card, legendary.
3/3. What a meme.
3/3. The battle cry is replace your hand with a copy of your. So, Rebobson, did you get a chance to mess with this week?
Oh, I did.
Oh boy.
What I got to play it in was actually the deck I'm going to be talking about in Deck of the Week in our next segment, so can't give too much away, but like this card has a really interesting place in the meta right now. Dog actually was playing this card in the Odd Control Warrior, where it has like this really cool place where you can put it in kind of slow control decks which have no other answer to Azari, because then you can steal their Azari. You're an Odd Control Warrior, so you've got like 70 armor. You play it at the same time. Both players go into fatigue at the same time, and you've got a 40-point health difference, so you win.
Yeah,
that is my favorite use of this card. There are some other uses of this card which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but that is, I think, my favorite one. I don't think there is too much outside of Warrior and the other deck I'm going to talk about, but so I couldn't think of anything super ridiculous. Although I did play like 2 or 3 games of Togwaggle Druid with this card in Wild, and that is, of course, the silliest deck to ever be a top meta deck. Anyone who doesn't know the combo, you draw your entire deck as you are a combo druid with all the removal in Wild that's available to druids: Poison Seeds, Spreading Plague, Ultimate Infestation, Nourish, Spellstones, all that good stuff. And then what you do is you play Aviana, you play Kun the Forgotten King to refresh your mana, then you play Togwaggle to swap decks with your opponent, then you play Azalina Soul Thief to get a copy of the Ransom card, which is now in your opponent's hand. So when they swap their decks back to avoid fatigue, you can swap it back once again, and then they have no cards left, and you have their deck. So
you have all theirs, yeah.
Yeah, there was like a real highlight of that deck was when I played in Jonah Ra's Wild tournament like a month or so back. My first opponent played that while I was just playing normal Malagos Druid, and what my opponent actually did was played the full combo, took my hand, then played my Kun the Forgotten King, played Malagos, and used my entire combo against me.
So that's crazy.
Yeah, he played he had 3 turns essentially that game. I did still win because I got to go second and my Malagos swipe killed his entire board, but it was awesome to watch from the other side. I was just like, because I hadn't seen, I'd never seen the combo take place before up until that point. Then my opponent used it against me. I was like, oh, that's how this works. So yeah, this card is awesome. Really, really cool card.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I think I'm going to try to give that a try.
Yeah, give Togwaggle Druid a try. Highly recommend it, because the Druid control shell in Wild is just so strong. You can pretty much just put anything in it. And the Togwaggle deck is like the perfect example, I think, of that. So, Adam, did you get a chance to play Azalina?
I mean, if I was Dog playing in playoffs, then yes, I did. But no, I did not.
Living vicariously once again.
I played vicariously through Dog. And I mean, I think this card's cool. I just didn't have the dust to craft it or really the time to put something together this past week, just because I was, I do have other stuff I'm doing during the week. But I think this week's card of the week, I definitely own, and I'll definitely give a chance to play with. Squirrel, tell us about this week's card of the week.
This week's card of the week is a fun one. We were talking in our Discord channel, which we would love to have everyone join. So please make sure you check our social media for our Discord information. But a good friend of the show, a member of our Discord, Jasper, said
Also new sub, by the way. He subbed during the show.
Oh, new sub, hype! Thank you
Hype.
very much.
Jasper.
Thank you, Jasper.
He suggested Mossy Horror.
Ooh.
What, that guy from Monster Inc? That guy from Monster Inc?
Sully.
Yes. It is Sully, and he is a card who has the battle cry who reads, destroy all minions with 2 or less attack. So there is quite a few fun things to come up with this.
Shadow Word Horror on a stick.
Yes, exactly. So, Adam, what's the first thing you think of when building a deck that would use this card?
Oh, Curse of Weakness. This guy is kind of nuts with that card. It's like a one-sided board clear, like guaranteed board clear. Like 2 Curse of Weaknesses plus this guy should be able to clear the board, any board pretty much.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Rebobson, any ideas?
Yeah, that's also my first weakness. But you could also just put it in. I mean, you can just put this as a kind of paladin tech card in almost anything.
Yeah, this guy kind of like is a big-time paladin hoser too.
You can
No, I agree. I find that a lot of times I'm playing and I'm fighting the paladins and I get through like turn 3 or 4
You get through
or
the
5
fifth
even,
wave.
and then I'm like, oh, I'm just out of resources now. So having a Mossy Horror 6 after he drops his second call to arms on you is actually not too bad of an idea.
Yeah.
So
Could even put it in like Spiteful Druid. Might give that a try.
Yeah, because that would at least help your aggro matchup.
Yeah. Just obliterate a paladin's board. That sounds like a good time.
What would you do with the squirrel?
I think that sounds like a really good idea as a tech card. Maybe even a tech card in Kingsbane Rogue.
Ooh.
I'm sapping things. Aggro is the hardest thing because if I don't draw that life steal on my weapon, then I'm in really bad shape. I've pulled off some miraculous things against hunters and paladins, but having this, as like a third vanish almost, in that kind of regards, and then putting a body on the board actually might not be a bad idea. So I'll have to see.
In Rogue and Wild, Rogue and Wild is much better suited to dealing with aggro because they have Dark Iron Skulker. I think that's always the card. Like I feel comfortable targeting Paladin with Rogue, just because of the existence of that card. You can just if you made like a kind of control Rogue, put this in there. Maybe this goes into triple Old God Reno Rogue. We know you like that deck, Squirrel.
Yes, I do. I definitely do. But one of the things you got to remember is that Mossy Horror doesn't get rid of your weapon. It doesn't do anything like that. So it's a nice way to clear the board without sacrificing
any resources,
other resources. So it's going to be interesting. So please,
deck.
everyone, go ahead. I know you got craft your packs, so you shouldn't need to craft this guy. If you do, then don't waste your dust. But if you have 2 of these guys, or even just one, want to throw them in a deck, come to our Discord channel. We'll talk about it. If not, you can always send us an email. Plenty of ways to let us know, but we hope you have a lot of fun with Mossy Horror this week. I know I definitely. So
yeah.
With that, let's move on to our other of the week segment with our deck of the week. Rebobson, what do you have for us this week?
It's a priest again.
Well, you can see the look on my face. I have got the most ridiculous deck. So the whole.
It's always a priest.
Next week won't be a priest.
No.
That's a rule.
I alternate priest, not priest, priest, not priest. Okay, but so this deck is a deck that I like to call nonsense priest. So I was inspired to try this list out by Alewife suggestion for card of the week last week, which was Azalina Soulthief, of course. I did see this deck in a random Firebat video. He was playing the list, so I have attributed it to him. Not 100% sure. It may have just been something he threw together because it looked funny, but I just I looked at the list and I was like, this looks like something I would enjoy. So as we all know, I like ridiculous priest decks. I have a golden Archbishop Benedictus and a golden Chameleos, which I crafted before the expansion launch. So I wanted to get some mileage out of those two. Of course, anyone who's ever seen the show knows that I'm a really big fan of Elise the Trailblazer. I love that card. I like Shadow Visions and Goro packs more than anything else in the game. And I really like kind of dumb fatigue decks. So this kind of rolled all those things I like together into one really stupid package. So let's talk about the cards which are in this deck. So this deck can be summed up as a normal Control Priest list with the win condition change from Alexstrasza and Mind Blasts to simply just making your opponent concede by stealing everything they hold dear. So there's the usual Control Priest shell, which is Nausea Cleric, Power Word Shield, Wild Pyromancer, Divine Hymn, Shadow Visions, Dustbreakers, Acolytes of Pain, Twilight Drakes, Psychic Screams, Primordial Drakes, and Shadow Reaper Anduin. That is just normal Control Priest stuff. And then you have the usual tech inclusions, a single Shadow Word Death, a single Master Spell, and Harrison Jones, all to deal with those pesky Warlocks, which are obviously everywhere. And there is a slightly more unusual Shadow Word Pain for those pesky Paladins and Mana Worms, which are also fairly prevalent. Shadow Word Pain might not be a optimal inclusion, but really at this point, this deck is not optimal. Who cares? And there is one interesting hot take, which has made its way into a lot more priest deck lists recently. We saw it a little bit in the playoffs this weekend, and that is the Squashling, the adorable little pumpkin thing. The 2-mana, 2/1, Echo, restore 2 health to anything.
So which is just the Echoing Voodoo Doctor.
The Echoing Voodoo Doctor, but it's an adorable little pumpkin. I love Squashling. It's one of my favourite cards from the set. It's so cute. But that's just an extra little bit of burst healing in a meta which has a lot of Tempo Mage in particular that can often be quite relevant. But outside of those kind of core cards is where the fun stuff happens. So you have Chameleos to read a card and steal it from your opponent's hand. The kind of hand reading aspect of it is incredibly useful. It lets you know one thing to play around at any given point, which can be very useful in kind of grindy games, especially against spiteful decks. Knowing what's coming up can be very useful. And then you have Archbishop Benedictus to steal your opponent's entire deck, and Azalina to steal their hand. And then what is a janky priest deck with Shadow Visions without at least the Trailblazer to get 3 Ngoro packs, especially when grinding is the name of the game. So the basic kind of game plan is literally just run your opponent out of stuff. Generate more stuff than them by stealing all of their stuff, playing all that stuff, making more stuff, and then your opponent will eventually just grow tired of life. They will cease to exist, and they will concede. They will just leave. Like I have had some absolutely ridiculous matches with this game.
Like they'll get up out of their chair, they'll go outside, they'll get on the phone, say, "Hey, I'm thinking." They call their SO, and be, "Hey, I'm thinking about like not playing Hearthstone anymore. You want to like go get some pancakes or something?"
Yeah, no. This deck brings marriages closer together. That is what this deck does. It will force people to just be so demoralized with Hearthstone. They're just like, you know what, I'm done. I'm gonna become a pro Fortnite streamer, something like that.
Oh no! Don't say those things.
So, Rebobson, how would you put one Mossy Horror in?
Well, I mean, maybe you could replace the Shadow Word Pain with the Mossy Horror. There aren't really many cards I would replace in this deck other than the Shadow Word Pain. Maybe I could put a Mossy Horror in here and talk about it next week as well. That sounds like fun.
Are we gonna have to review that deck too?
No. So yeah, let's talk about matchups and the reason to actually play this deck.
I do want to make a point. This deck is very expensive, by the way.
Yes, no, this is not a deck I would recommend crafting.
It's not for the faint of heart.
Anyone. Like, if you don't have all the cards in this deck, just
don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it.
This is not a... I mean, it's bordering on competitive just because the Control Priest shell is quite good in of itself, but it has just kind of took a good deck and made it significantly worse, but a lot more fun. And that's why I really like it. So
because who doesn't love fun?
You got to remember, playing a children's card game, fun is important. But I want to talk about matchups and the reasons you might actually want to consider playing this deck, should you have the cards. So any deck which has Wild Pyromancer, Duskbreaker, and Primordial Drek is going to do quite well against Paladins no matter what. So that is very fortunate. You have a very favourable matchup against Paladin, and a lot of ladder is that. The deck and hand sealing mechanisms allow you to go toe-to-toe with pretty much any slow deck. So that's largely any kind of control mage, any kind of control or cube warlock. You do have a very good chance against those decks if you play the matchup well, but it's very much on you to play the matchup well rather than them to play it anything at all beyond okay. You need to the real skill test is knowing when to deploy Azalina, when to deploy Benedictus. Like, how many of your own important cards have you drawn? Are your opponent's cards better against them? In the case of Warlock in particular, their cards are definitely better than yours, so you just want to play Benedictus as soon as possible. If you're playing against a control mage, for example, and they've held a card in their hand from the mulligan, there's a good chance that you want to play Azalina on turn 8 and steal their Frostlich Jaina, because their Death Knight's better than your Death Knight. Like, it's a lot of kind of fringe scenarios like that. So every game with this deck is kind of a case-by-case scenario. It does require a lot of thought, and every game does take about 20 minutes. I had like a 6-game run which took 80 minutes when I started playing this deck. So it's really not for the faint of heart. This is not a deck you want to be playing on the toilet on your lunch break. This is...
No, your boss will ask many questions.
Just like, what is wrong with your insides? Are you okay? Do you need to go see a doctor? So yeah, those are the kind of matchups. So the grindy aspect of the deck, plus the kind of priest army removal and card draw, does mean that most matchups can feel even, if not favoured. Only the paladin is the one I would say is favoured. So if you can kind of bring yourself to play this deck to concentrate for really long grindy games, this deck does actually feel quite good in the meta. But the same thing could be said of more conventional control priest with Mind Blasts. So if you want to be competitive and you like playing priest, that is definitely still the deck to play. But if you want to have fun and still kind of play a semi-good deck in the process, then this is the deck, so long as you have all of the cards. The only downside is Druid. This deck does not do well against Spiteful Druid, because no priest decks do well against Spiteful Druid. It does have the Shadow of Death as a kind of nod to that, but even then, Tyrantus still doesn't blow you out of the water. And this deck also really struggles against Taunt Druid, or at least that's what I found. There is a possibility I didn't approach the one match I played against it, but it did feel like a very rough matchup, because there are only so many Psychic Screams you can play before they eventually get a big wall of taunts down, and then they branching paths you and you die. So really, the main enemy with this deck is just how long games do take and how much concentration a match with this game will require. So I highly recommend this deck if you are a glutton for punishment and you like priest memes, as I do. If you don't, then you're probably just better off playing Even Paladin, honestly. That's quite a good deck. So that is it from Deck of the Week for me. I really enjoyed playing my Deck of the Week this week, so do hope you check it out. If you do try it out, let us know how you found it. And really, that is going to be it from us for tonight. So thank you everyone for tuning into the show tonight, or for listening at home or on the go if that's how you prefer to enjoy the show.
Thank you.
If you would like to follow the show for the latest news and announcements about the show, remember you can check us out on Twitter at @AroundTheHearth and Facebook at facebook.com/AroundTheHearth. Or you can check out the show notes. There'll be a link to our Discord server. You can just come and hang out with us and chat some Hearthstone there. Remember, the show is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Podbean in audio form. So please do subscribe and leave us some reviews to read out on the show for next week there. Or in video form, you can find us on YouTube. So please do remember to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when the show video goes up every week.
Smash that like button.
Smash it. Watching and listening to the show is all we can really ask for, of course. But if you do want to help us out in another way, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/AroundTheHearth for a variety of cool rewards. Or if you have Twitch Prime, please do click the subscribe button on our Twitch channel. Or if not, like we said, a follow, still most welcome. I have been Rebobson. So from myself, DS Adam, and EvilSquirrel, thank you, good night, and we'll see you around the hearth next week.